Hello and welcome to the Trillions channel. Today we'll be speaking to Krissy Mashinsky, the founder and CEO of usastrongIO, which is an online e-commerce platform which uses blockchain technology to verify supply chains, such that her customers know that her products are in fact made in the USA. So Krissy, welcome to the channel. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you. I'm so happy to be here and so excited to talk about what we're doing.
Lots to talk about. We're going to speak about your career, why you started usastrong.io, the state of the online retail space and its impact on local and microeconomies. So I think we ought to maybe set the scene. So you've been working in the retail space for many years, and if I'm not mistaken, you were the president at URBN or Urban,
Mhm.
which owns a portfolio of brands like Urban Outfitters, Anthropology Group, Free People, and Newly. I guess what made you decide to leave all of that and start the next chapter of your career, which is in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I've been working in fashion since I think longer than I'd like to say, but ever since I was little, I just loved all things fashion. So I think even through high school. I was tearing out pages of magazines and making pre-print Pinterest boards in my room of ideas of what I thought would make great companies, and that is being entrepreneurial. But I never thought of myself as being someone that could start my own company. And when I went to college, I tried everything. I thought I was going to be a psychiatrist. I thought I was going to be, you know, a ballerina with the American Ballet Theater. I tried there. I was going to be a writer. Uh, but really, in my heart, I wanted to be in retail, specifically in fashion. And I spent 20 plus years in the retail industry working for large retail brands, everything from Christian Lacroix to Calvin Klein to URBN, which are the brands that you mentioned. And my wonderful husband, who who's been on your wonderful show, Alex Mashinsky, said, "Well, have you ever thought about being an entrepreneur?" And I thought it was the time to try it and make my own brand. And that's really what started me down this amazing path.
That's really cool. And I think it's fascinating to know like how you've added the blockchain aspect and you've taken a completely different take from
Right.
competitors, I guess. Because a lot of the time people will look at an existing business and maybe tweak it, but I think your business is actually doing something completely different, and it's almost looking at the world in a different lens, right? It's people
Right.
and community first.
Sure. When I started this, it was something, of a journey. It was started as nycstrong.com actually, and it was about making my own products, and I wanted to make it locally. And COVID was just uh, coming into this area of New York City and shutting everything down. And it was uh, between March and April of 2020. And to start a brand in New York City during that time was quite an adventure. And the idea was, and what the website really was like this mission statement. It was almost like, Tom Cruise, writing that white paper in, Jerry Maguire, and really taking a step out. And it was about making products locally in New York City, trying to find folks or manufacturing locally in New York City, and then giving back. And that turned out to be much harder than I anticipated. And as I researched and went down many paths to find what was really made here in New York City, um, because it was about promoting and helping support local folks in the neighborhood, um, that wasn't so easy to do. But as I found those folks and shared my knowledge, that became really the business model. So folks in Detroit said, wow, I read your site. We live in Detroit, Michigan, but we're not really big fans of New Yorkers, which I thought was really funny. So if you expand your platform to include and be more inclusive of other states or cities, we'll add our products because Michigan's very well known for producing locally. We'll add our products and our brands to your site. So that's really how it started. So then I changed the name from NYC Strong to encompass more states and made it usastrong.io. So blockchain is about really that verification, right? Because that's what people were interested in. What is real? Where is it made? And then knowing that there is some tech behind it. So we really became a tech company. And that's how it started.
Yeah. And do you mind just giving us, like, what does this company mean to you? Because clearly there is a bigger ethos here. It's not about, I guess, you and the business. It's about the country. And we've come to this point where supply chains do not necessarily exist in each country. Let's just say outside of China, we've all come to realize that supply chains do not exist in our countries. We're not self-sufficient. So I think the timing of your company is absolutely perfect because we need to start, I guess, encouraging entrepreneurs to produce locally such that we are self-sufficient.
Yeah, that is such an amazing point, and that is so well said. I'm not sure I could even elaborate better than how you just said it. Yeah, it's exactly right. It was an unbelievable moment to start it. I'm not sure I was that brilliant in my thought process, like you just said. I think, it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and look back and say, how you just articulated it. Really, I started it from the heart of just trying to launch my own brand, right? And trying to decipher, well, I really just want to help manufacturing in New York City. And not being able to decipher, well, is it really being made here or are you making it someplace else, right? And when you start to look into that, you realize, oh my gosh, we don't really make anything here in New York City anymore. Where is all that manufacturing that used to happen in 1920, 1930, 1940? That's really where even the women's labor movement started is my grandmother was part of it. It's where she went to school to learn how to sew. It's disappeared over the years. And you're right. It's we need to learn to be self-sufficient again. And I'm a globalist. I mean, and my husband is certainly a globalist. So this isn't about, we don't like this country or that country. It's more about, well, first and foremost, let's just understand what we can and cannot do. And I believe in the UK, gosh, they do it the best. I mean, when you think about how the Brits just love their country, right? They love wearing so proudly things that are made locally. I think here in the States, somehow we lost our way more so than a lot of other countries. I think there was a poll at one point not too long ago where people were asked, how much of the products in your country are made locally, and Americans didn't even understand what was made or not made here anymore. We've lost a sense of even understanding what we can and cannot do. I think Italians are extremely passionate and wear so proudly products made in Milan, or they've done a great job of promoting that. So it's interesting as we think about this. Where are we going to be in 10 years? Well, I do believe each neighborhood, each city, each state or country does have to think about supply chain differently, especially now after what happened this past year. And think about what can be done, what can be made, and if you can't make something, put it out there and maybe someone young can make it.
Yeah, correct. And I think when you said about the future, I've got some research that I've done on this matter, so I'll share that
Oh,
with everyone in a bit. But look, I think this kind of puts us nicely in terms of what is usastrong.io. Maybe we will touch upon that. You've
mhm.
kindly sent through across an infographic, and I think we should maybe just go through it, and it kind of
Sure.
explains the business in a
Yeah.
very handy way. So I'll pull
Yeah.
this up on screen such that our audience can see the visual. So
Yeah.
should we just start from the top and work our way
Let's
down
do
to
it.
the bottom? Awesome.
Yeah. So really we made this so that people could easily understand who we are and what we do. And basically, what this shows is that we are the first and only digital marketplace and platform in the world that verifies and sells 100% American made products. And what I love about this is that it really starts to show all the different categories that we sell. And, it's really a lifestyle community. And lifestyle means that we are showing and showcasing products that fulfill anything from things for your kids, your home, your car, your backyard, your food, what you're ingesting, um, what you're putting in your hair, what you're putting on your body. So it could be beauty, it could be wellness, it could be for your pet, so it's not just fashion clothing. It goes way beyond that reach. So, and we curate it, and I think that's key, right? So when you think about the difference between our site and an Amazon or an Etsy, really those sites just take all the products somebody has, right? So that's not how we work. We're going through someone's site and we're saying, okay, these products really fit for our customer, and we may only take 3 products from someone's site or someone's brand, or we may take 10. So it's really curated, and that's what this is saying, right? And it says, so who is selling on USA Strong? So this is another important point. 70% of the sellers, or 70% of the folks that actually own the brands and are selling on our platform, are female owned businesses, which is critical for us, right? Because we know that they've been really frozen out of Amazon's selling platform. I think it's the complete opposite on Amazon. I think 70% are men. And 50% of the sellers on our site have some affiliation with a social cause. So whether it's promoting sustainability, or the UN has what they call SDGs, and there's, I think, 17 different ways to help the planet. um, so who we sell and who we sell to and what we understand about them. So right now this is our end consumer that we're referring to. So the user age base, 25 to 34. So we're really talking about, you know we know Gen Z shops the site. Do they convert to purchase? Not as much as millennials, right? So we know that the millennials are still getting it into the basket, into the cart, and purchasing. However, in sessions and length of sessions, Gen Z still dominates. So our Gen Z customer will spend up to 8 minutes on our site. And we can talk about more of that later. And then 50% of the visitors on our site are male, and that's a very unusual stat for a startup. So we've only been in business 8 months, and so we have exactly right the demographic, right. I think I, I don't know what the demographic of the planet is. Is it 50% men, women?
I would imagine, but you know what really surprised me is that women usually hold the wallet in terms of shopping, in terms of retail. Like the vast majority of spending happens from women. So to see a 50-50 split, well, that's pretty impressive.
Unbelievable. Well, they're supporting women. That's what I love. 70% of our sellers are women, and 50% of the people visiting our site are men, which I just love. I just love that stat. And then 75% of our users are on mobile, which I don't think surprises anybody. And then the top cities where we're selling right now. So Troy, Michigan, New York City, Westfield, New Jersey, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Charlotte, Tampa, Los Angeles, and Portland. Really fun cities. And then just, I think the biggest stat here is at 8 minutes. That's just incredible. I don't know any other platform where the consumer is just digesting all of that insight, right? So they're really going in, they're looking at the sellers, and they want to know who are they buying from. The return customer rate's incredible, 40%. So they're feeling very connected to who they're buying from. So it's not just about USA Strong IO, it's those individual brands that we're showcasing. And then the blockchain. So this is probably the most exciting thing to your viewers, is the verification. I think this is the first time blockchain has been used for probably really what it was intended for. In my mind is, okay, you're using it to show transparency into something that is really a what I would call like that good cause, right? So you're showing how it was made, where it was made, and people are kind of tapping the shoulder to their neighbor and saying, hey, I want to include you in this community. You make something locally, show where you make it. Let's not be competitors. Let's collaborate and let's win together. And I think the States, again, has not done a great job of that. The States has made it a competition, and people don't usually show that they're making something here. We are changing that game and saying, no, work together, make it about where you're making it here. It's not about hiding it. It's about collaborating, and then, putting it on the blockchain. We call it the strong blockchain. And that's the verification process, right? So the tech piece of it, or the back end of it, is what Alex really gets excited about. So he's 50% of this company. He's the co-founder. And, he could just go on and on and on about the importance of this and tokenizing this. So, I think that could be a really fun next step for you to talk to Alex about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think this is a lot of the problems in the past was you couldn't prove to people that you actually made everything, or every piece of your product actually came from, say, the US. It was impossible. But now with blockchain technology, you're able to have that part of the supply chain, and you can verify it as well. That's the most important thing. So whatever you say can be proven. And I think that's very important for retailers, and it's also important for the consumers. So I think that's a huge differentiator. And I think I'll congratulate you and Alex and your team for building a business like this, because this is the next level in terms of where retail needs to go. And, I've always mentioned about Celsius and the standard that they set. And I think this is hopefully going to be the standard that will be set across all of retail going forward, such that we don't have instances, where products are being made in countries where, labor laws and human rights are being abused and things like that. So hopefully this steps everyone's game up, and they adhere to higher standards.
Exactly. I think that when you think about even what is happening right now with supply chain, specifically what's happening, with human rights coming out of China, and there's certain regions where it's just completely shut down, right? Nobody wants to buy anything out of certain regions where you might touch upon any kind of human rights issues. So where do you go? Like, who makes cotton anymore, right? There's certain places you can go, but the first thought is, of course, why did we stop making cotton here, right? Well, because you were trying to do it the cheapest way. And right there is your mistake number one, right? And I think it goes back to these challenges that Amazon has caused for itself. I mean, I'm such a anti-Amazoner, if that's such a thing. I started this last year with them, And everyone said, you cannot pick a fight with Amazon. Everyone loves Amazon. They're, number one, best in class. Well, it turns out they're not so loved, because as more and more comes out about the damage they've done to the environment, or the problems with the labor laws, you start to see, when you just poke at, if someone just poked at the giant a little bit, okay, it's a little mushy. It's not as difficult, right?
Yeah. One thing I just want to maybe circle back to, in the infographic, you mentioned 80% of users are based in the US. So people outside of the US can purchase items from usastrong.io,
Yeah.
right? So you ship in which countries, which other countries?
Yeah, so there are specific items, specifically, I would say Celsius items that we ship internationally to the UK. Alex has a huge fan base in Europe. So we do ship internationally. I think for the 180 vendors, some of them ship everywhere, globally. And so it's vendor by vendor, but, obviously Celsius ships specifically to his fans in the UK. And I think we've got exciting news. So not only do we ship USA Strong product, to Europe and to the UK, but, there's a fan base in the UK that has been clamoring, specifically on Twitter, for us to launch UK Strong. And I always said, well, the Brits do it better than us. They don't need me to verify British made goods. They do it on their own. The US is never verified USA made, if you can imagine. I'm not sure anyone knows that.
I didn't
That's a
know
big
about
point.
Wow.
The US has no verification system currently for USA made goods. So, so that's why we do it. That's why we have this, is because I couldn't verify where things were made, right? So what we decided to do when I started this was look at countries that do it best in class. And best in class is Australia, hands down. They're best in class. The Brits definitely promote it the best. But there is opportunity for a UK strong team. And so we decided to have the website available in case, and the logo.
Amazing.
And I thought today we should share it because your fans have been asking. And same with Celsius fans. So I don't know, do you have a copy of it? You can show it.
Yeah, we'll put it up right here, right next to Krissy right now. Yeah, it looks fantastic. I think it's going to be really exciting to see how the strong brand, develops over time, because you'll start seeing people realizing, actually, I want to purchase locally. I want to support, whether it be my farmers, whether it be people who are manufacturing retail, whatever it could be. You could just be a very talented person who makes handcrafts. I think people appreciate that individualism, and people are maybe willing to hopefully pay a little bit more just to have that. What I'll maybe touch upon, and I've done a bit of research in preparation for this interview. So I've done some research based on generational spending habits. Would you mind if I just share that with you and the audience? Because I think it's super relevant to everything that we're discussing. So, depending on where you are in terms of the generation, so that you have boomers, you have the Gen X's, you have millennials and Gen Z's. How people basically, the way that they spend and where they spend is based on the environment that they grew up. And a lot of it has to do with sort of technology, whether it be radio, TV, internet, and now social media. So different generations have had different influences of technology and how they end up spending. So the one thing that I want to focus on is the Gen Zs, because they are the emerging generation, and they will eventually dethrone the millennials, and they will have the vast majority of wallet spend. So just so people can understand, I'll give you a definition, and this is from McKinsey, and they're a renowned consultancy firm. So they've labeled this generation between 1995 and 2010. So that means as of today, they're aged 11 to 26. So here are some of the findings that I've got based on their research, and it's called True Gen Z, and its implications for companies. I'll leave a link in the description if anyone's interested in reading it. So 70% of their respondents say that they try to purchase products from companies they consider ethical. And about 65% try to learn the origins of anything they buy, where it is made, what it's made from, and how it is made. So like I said, there's a lot more in this report, so feel free to read it. But when I looked at other publications and articles as well, and Gen Zs are leading the pack, they want to be buying from more local businesses and they're focused on sustainability. They care more about it than millennials and Gen Xers. It doesn't mean that the rest don't care, but from the research, it suggests that there is a higher proportion, specifically in the Gen Z category. So like I said, in 10 to 15 years' time, this generation will be dominant in terms of their spending. So like circling back to companies like yours, based on this research, it suggests that Gen Zs will be looking for that type of business, platforms and companies that have a focus with that kind of a preference, with their preference in mind. And that is potentially where all the growth will be in the retail space. Like I said, as you go down that generation tranches, it gets more sort of like sustainability. They want to be, where is it made? So it doesn't necessarily mean that millennials don't think that. They do think about it. But I think the Gen Zs have kind of come into this world where social media and information was just at the touch of their fingers. When I grew up, we had 56K broadband and we had to wait 10 minutes or a couple of minutes for things to load up, whereas they see life very differently. So yeah, that's just some of the research that I found, and I just wondered what your thoughts are and if you're seeing similar things on your side. You've touched upon it in terms of some of the stats, but what have you been hearing in terms of younger people, millennials? Like what are people been saying to you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that stat. What we see is the research based on the amount of time they're spending on the site, right? So it's not just that browsing fast. What I would say is slow is good, right? So I think when you think about how we would shop, everything had to be what we call speed to market. It was as fast as possible, or fast fashion, or get it to the house as soon as possible, right? Didn't matter how much gas you used or how much plastic was involved, or labor issues involved to make tens of thousands of units, or how it got there. Now they want to see who actually made the product. They want verification or video of the woman or man at the source that made it. How did they make it? Well, how did it get to the States, as an example? How did it get from whatever country it was made in, right? And who was that person and how was she treated? Oh, and PS, now, how much were they paid? Which is a whole other level. Were there animals involved? I think PETA has been around, much longer. And so it was always interesting to me how my generation was interested more in the animals than the human. It was always protect the bunny, right? Well, now Gen Z is protect the human. It's gotten much more serious, right? And I think as you see what maybe we turned a blind eye to, maybe because it was too much to take in, or we couldn't get that access.
All the information wasn't there, right? Because it was a different time.
Exactly. I think it's definitely going to be a different level of what's acceptable and what's not. And that's why I think when we think about all the vendors on our site, we're adding the data and information and video, and we're pushing it to a whole different level of, okay, great, let's start verifying it. Now the States is a percent, in the US, as long as you cover 51% manufactured or components, you get to say USA made, right? So other countries don't do that. Australia breaks out components and breaks out manufacturing. I think that Gen Z, as they grow in numbers and age, is going to say, well, we want it broken out, right? We want to see it broken out. And that's really what we're leading the fight on. We want it broken out. President Biden just yesterday made a statement that, okay, we're going to change that 51 potentially to 75. right? So we're making progress with our movement, and we're the leaders at the forefront of that. And it's really because Gen Z is such a power player in our space and on our site, and demanding so much more insight and transparency. And that's where blockchain, I think, just becomes critical. And you have to understand blockchain. And a lot of people don't understand it. I would say more and more it's becoming commonplace to talk about it and understand, okay, it's not harmful. There's nothing scary. It's just technology. We always evolve, but it's been around since 1993, right? This is actually old technology that we're just starting to make tangible. And that was really because of Bitcoin, right? And crypto. And that still has a bad rap. People still can't wrap their heads around why we should have transparency in money, right? But I think it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time, but I think you're right. This Gen Z is pushing for more and more information, and that when blockchain kind of solidifies it. And once it's locked on that code, it goes, and that's it. You can't change it. And that's what's important for us.
Yeah. I'll just touch upon one thing that you actually said. You said that people want to see the faces. What I was quite surprised was when I went on your website and I clicked on, say, one of the vendors, you can actually see a photo of the person, and also a description and where they're based. So it makes it that much more personal. Yeah. So when you go on an Amazon or an Etsy, it's almost like a black box. You just see the product. You don't see the history behind it. You don't see the story behind it. Whereas here, you're able to actually see, okay, it was Matt and Hannah. It's their business, and you see what they look like, and they have a little blurb or a story. And I think it's just connecting with people. And I really like that. I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah, and that's when you go under that drop down small business, it was important for us to add even that map. Like a good, it's our map. It's not Google Map, but it was our version of it, right? And each store is in there, and you can kind of scroll into it almost. Not almost. You can go into the street level, right? And you can see Hannah's face, and it's like, oh wait, Hannah's actually right next door. That is where my box is coming from, right? Because so many times I don't know where my stuff was coming from. And you just feel lost and confused on some of these other sites. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know who you're talking to. I had one woman that wanted to onboard onto our site, and she said, okay, you're a human. I was like, yes, I'm a human. Right? People forget that you can actually speak to somebody, and that's really what the site is about. So the blockchain just is there to verify the information and to lock it in code, because we need that, right? But again, there's the humanity piece of it. So there's really two sides of this equation for the site. And with the outreach, in other countries, I know it's needed. When we think, there's outreach from India. Look at the need there for verification. That's just a whole other need on so many levels, right? To show these are people, this is what they're making, it's beautiful, but again, I got to get this set here. I got to get it done. I got to get it done right. I have to show that there's a want for it, before I can really tackle such bigger things.
And I guess if we come back to the Amazon example, and I know there will be people who'll be watching this say, oh, I love Amazon because, they make convenience and also, from a price perspective. But, what I'm going to talk about right now is less about maybe Amazon as the giant, but I'm going to talk about the sellers on Amazon. So ultimately, this platform kind of incentivizes people to thrive based on reviews and how cheap they are. So what happens over time, it's a race to the lowest price. And then that means production of these goods move to the parts of the world where labor is the cheapest. So then we get into the question whether these parts of the world have the same labor and human rights laws as we do in the US and Europe. and whether these people are being exploited. And then,
Yeah.
what is their working condition? What kind of hours are they doing? How much pay are they getting? And, in extreme cases, is there child labor being used? So like,
Yeah.
these are the things that concern people. And I think, supply chain is that key thing. If you're able to figure out where everything is being made and you're holding everyone accountable, I think that's the key thing. And when people understand that, I think any considerate human would opt to pay a little bit more to stop these industries exploiting those people. Because at the moment, all we see is just a product and a price and the reviews. And we're like, hell yes, I'll buy that. But I think there is more to this. And I hope now this will open everyone's eyes to think, do I want to buy it? Where do I want to put my money? Because your money is a political statement in that sense. Like, I know I might get, maybe I don't necessarily know the cost between platforms, but even if it does cost more, I will pay a little bit more because I know exactly where it's coming from.
Yeah. And I think the way sometimes these larger companies may survive is they may have started a certain way with a certain marketing campaign that was valid, but I question that campaign today. And is it really cheaper? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Now, I can't vet every single product on another site because I'm vetting my own. I'm staying in my lane. However, I would have to say that probably those vendors are eating a lot of that cost. Someone else is getting wealthy on some of those platforms. The vendors are sinking, and I would probably guess that the prices are going up, right? And I'm not certain that any of those products are the lowest price anymore, right? But because we're so conditioned just to do Amazon Prime as an example, no one's thinking about it, right? So the old adage, the rich get richer, is when I look at the Amazon Prime button, you just have to remember the rich get richer, and then you'll delete it. You'll delete the button.
Another thing that actually just came to mind, because you mentioned, I can't remember what you just said, but essentially, most people are very environmentally conscious right now. So if you're buying locally, all the transportation and moving things around is not being factored into that price. If you're getting it from other countries and say like the supply chain is like going from one country to the other, just to make things, to fix things along the way before the finished product, you cannot imagine the carbon output, those kind of things are intangible. So I think that's also another thing that I guess people should be aware of. Like, we don't highlight it enough.
Exactly.
And I think that's another angle that I think people should be, I guess, concerned about.
Well, it has to be visible, right? And I think one thing that Alex challenged me on, which I think is a great project, and we need a great filmmaker to help us with this, is, follow someone's dollar, right? That pays on Amazon, right? You follow that and let's see where does it go? I think if you had just a mom in Ohio, right, and I get it. I've got 6 kids. I'm exhausted. There's a point where you just don't care. You're run down, you're tired, and you just need what you need for your kid. I get it. That's the responsibility of me to build the next platform to get rid of the old one that doesn't work for us anymore. But my point is, we need to see where that dollar is going. And I guarantee that mom in Ohio, she saw where that dollar ended up and the damage that $1 did. She would not buy from Amazon again. We're exhausted, right? And we just need to get it so fast. But I can see the trend reversing. I can see people buying now on usastrong.io, all the different products. So we get the most random purchases now, right? Because we haven't been around long enough really to see the top categories of what is outpacing what. So, the fact that we get food orders and pantry orders, and then, shoe orders, and then, paper goods, and then wedding, I mean, it's just all over the map, tells me we are a contender to be the third player in marketplace, right? You've got Etsy for crafts, you've got Amazon for what I call electronics, and then we're going to be that white space right in the middle. And the reason why I know that is because we're getting the traffic from just everywhere. 50% men, 50% women, and it's all the categories, right? We kind of just filled up the middle ground there. And you're getting boxes, into your home from these small businesses with handwritten notes. You're falling in love with your neighbor again. That's what you needed. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants to feel good and excited to get their boxes again.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that's what we're missing in today's world. Everything feels like you're living in a simulation. You don't feel like there's a human touch anymore. And I think sometimes I don't know if it's just COVID that's kind of shed that light. Like we've kind of just stopped in our tracks and we started to realize actually what is it that makes us happy? What are the small touches, the small things that actually give us joy, opposed to, just getting a box, opening it and getting on with your life. So yeah, I mean, what I want to maybe touch upon is, I think you spoke about it, like what kind of product verticals are you looking to introduce, and what do you see you want to be doing more of? What kind of stuff do you want to be selling more of? Or is it a case of what's coming in your direction, like what people are trying to sell, or how does it all work? Like how do you get more, I guess, vendors on, and what are you seeing in terms of who is coming inbound?
Yeah, another great question. So if someone is manufacturing so there's 500,000 USA manufacturers in the United States, right? And right now we only have 180 on our site. So I think, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We have a lot of outreach we need to do. I think, anyone that listens or knows someone or recommends it, you can just go to the site. There's a drop down about us, and there's a slot that says get verified, right? And they can apply. It's a $50 verification fee, and it gets them into the system for us to start the process. So that's one thing that at least helps move this forward. I think categories that we don't have that we want: cars made here. There are cars still made here. There's these RVs that are still made here that are very popular. We're looking for, I'm dying for vintage USAMADE is a huge opportunity. People that are roaming the country, that find these products, want to collect them and get them on the site. I think our next big announcement will be probably around Labor Day, where we start to introduce spirits and wine. This is a massive announcement. It's been a massive undertaking. It's not so easy to do with the laws here. It'll be the first time ever done. So, I'll be excited to talk about it when it happens, and give you some idea about how we're doing it and the logistics behind it. So that to me is the next big opportunity, is to have a site like this, where you can get, I always say lip gloss, and your bundle of wine, right? I mean, huge.
That's awesome. I think yeah, what you most probably found is just how many industries are thriving in the USA, and it's just a question of getting them onboarded. And when you mentioned, you've only done 180, I think that's very impressive, because a lot of what I guess, like right at the beginning of any company, a lot of it is just the infrastructure. So getting the infrastructure correct, getting the people on, and having a process that's scalable. So, once you have that in place, you'll be able to onboard once everything is there. So I think, 180 today will be very different from maybe a year's time,
Yeah.
So I think we may be having a different conversation. You don't have enough people to onboard the amount of demand that you have in a
Well,
year's
we
time.
definitely don't have enough people. I mean, we're definitely a small but nimble team. The team is outstanding. You know, the group that we have is just the most creative. They manage the, social design, onboarding. They're just best in class. The tech. So I'm quite fortunate that they're as agile and quick. I've never seen a team like this. Again, you're right, and that 180 represents 8 to 10,000 products, right? So you're just seeing our reach. It's like an octopus right now. I think people are just saying, where did they come from? How did this happen in 8 months? And it's moving quickly. We have 2,000 stores in the queue, trying to figure out how to onboard. Where do they apply? How do they pay? Where does it go? How does it go? What does it mean? So we have 34 to 38 states now that are up on social channels with state directors and ambassadors out in the field, and they really help verify. And it's a feisty group. I think we're 98% female run. I don't know why Alex represents 2%. I don't know where I came up with that number. I mean, we have advisors, that are pretty impressive men also. So, but it's an amazing group. It's an amazing group. Very fortunate.
That's amazing. And maybe we should also just touch upon some of the announcements. So you've recently launched your mobile app for USA Strong. So it's another avenue for people, I guess, to shop. So congrats on that. And it's available on iOS and Android, correct?
Yes, it is. Just go right to, the App Store and you type in USA Strong and it should come up. And it's a little heart, obviously, in
Yeah.
pink.
And how has it been received so far from your user base?
Really well. It's easy to shop. It's by category. I think that our search is getting much, much better. We have such incredible feedback from the community. The community is so verbal with us, good, bad, we just love it. I just love, especially Twitter. Twitter's been unbelievable. Whether it's Celsians, whether it's, the women of, the complimentary women of Celsians, I would say, that have helped us. Again, community is everything. Just fantastic. Just fantastic. So thank you to everyone. Yes, so we have the app. We have Instagram, which is USA Strong IO, Twitter, which we, have been on now for a few months. So we're just building that up, which is USA Strong IO. And then I'm on Twitter at Krissy Mashinsky.
We'll have all your details at
Yeah.
the bottom of the video, and it's also in the description. So you told us that there's going to be a usastrong.io. So I'm sure there are places in the world that are saying, hey, what about Europe, or what about individual countries or other continents like Africa or Asia? So what's the sort of like grand plan? Obviously, we don't want to hold timelines, but what is your vision of the Strong brand?
Yeah, Strong definitely is a global concept. That's why the blockchain is Strong Blockchain. That's the name of it. We've got TV, which is Strong TV. I think, as we think about a rollout, there were two countries that I wanted to start with, and it was, the UK and Italy. Those are the two that I think are on the roadmap. Those are the two that we have domains for. Those are the two that we have logos for. And, what order they come in, I don't know, but it's definitely something near and dear to my heart. And that's where we would start.
Amazing. Like, before we, I guess, close off, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience? Anything that you would want to mention?
Just support local, whether it's, your neighborhood, whatever country you're in, small business is big business. We refer to ourselves as strongers. I think that it's important to always ask who made this and where did it come from.
Amazing. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. I thoroughly enjoyed this interview, and I wish you and the team the very best of luck in all your future endeavors. I think what you guys are doing is setting the bar to another level, and I think we'll look back in time and think, wow, this was the start of something special across the industry. So very well done, and thank you.
Thank you, Trillions. We love you.
I appreciate it, Krissy. So guys, if you've enjoyed this content today and you would like to support the channel, go ahead and smash that like button. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification. That is all for today. We'll catch you in the next one.